speed limit about, about a mile or 30 or 35 seconds, and behaviors change behavior by setting, change behaviors, and I think that is important. It's not, people always break the speed limit, people always break the law, that's part of the law, but you got to at least set some standard. If they break, then they have to be dealt with it. But you just don't say behaviors cannot change, we do nothing to change behavior. Now they won't change, but you got to do something to change behavior. And I think lowering the speed limit and having some stop signs over there, people don't adjust to it.
The Judge, may I make one point? 2 points on this, and one would be an ironic twist. Typically, this comes to the court with their request. It doesn't emanate from the court. That you all have been hit up, the magistrate from that district has been hit up saying, the residents in an area, we get a petition where they say they'd like the court to consider reducing the speed limit in this area. This would be, again, emanating from the court, and the irony would be, Squire Gill, your district, you're going to be the one, if these letters go out, you're going to hear from probably more residents than anyone, since you're the magisterial representative. But it's for much of that. But again, the judge is correct. It's not so much that we have to have that. They just need to be put on notice as being considered by the court. We may not hear from many, if any. I do expect we will, though, when people start trying to drive that stretch at 25. But I do think, Squire Gill, you will be the one to get as you're walking along there each morning, you may get stopped about what the court's considering. So, but again, this is just in your consideration process, Judge. I don't know where we are formally as a court.
So, yeah, we're in. It's in committee. We've had several hearings and meetings and off-site meetings, and the road department has done work on it. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to start moving towards a decision. I don't know how you all feel, but I don't think it's a great idea to proceed without Squire Brown, but we could. I think he has a wealth of knowledge from his experience on the court and as road committee chairman. I would prefer to vote on something, a recommendation of the court, if he were here, but that's not, that doesn't mean we can't move forward without him. Squire Gill, you're recognized.
Thank you. I don't have any problem with sending letters to everybody. I mean, that's fine with me, and give them time to respond. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I was walking this morning when school was coming, and kids were walking to school, and it brought up something to me that Jackie Brown told me. And he said he drives tractors on the roads a lot, and they go slow. And he said, when you're crossing an intersection, it's hard to gauge how fast cars are going. He said it's hard for an adult to gauge it. I saw a kid run out in front of a car on Marcel's to cross the road to go to school. And I know that kid could not gauge how fast that car was going, and it was going far faster than 35 miles an hour in a school zone. And it scared me. So I think we need to, it might take some time, but we really need to pursue this. And it might be hard to drive 25, but they did the traffic study in a 25 mile an hour zone, and the average speed was 38 miles an hour. I know people are, if we set it at 25, they're going to be driving 35. And that's just what people do, and if nobody's around, they'll probably be driving faster than that. So I think for safety, especially in front of Huntertown where the road is so wide, and Adam brought this up, that road is so wide, it confuses the drivers, but it's also a big span for a kid to cross and try to gauge to make sure, to see if those cars are far enough away where they won't get hit.
If I may, Judge, the one point too, that was, you have any idea how old that child was? What your sense of how old?
I'd say elementary school. I'd say,
what?
No, I think it.
Were they accompanied by a parent or anything?
No, there were
see,
three
that's what I was
kids
going to say. So
school.
my point is, no matter what you do,
he was trying to catch up with the other two.
I know, but no matter what you do, you can't guarantee something won't happen because of something like that, a variable like that. It may occur. And that couldn't be based on anything the court may or may not have done. That's based on if a child is unaccompanied by an adult and is running across, that could result in something that, regardless of what you do, could lead to an accident.
And you're absolutely right.
I mean,
but if the speed limit's lower, the danger is less.
I understand that. It's I'm probably a bad now. I'm reminded a lot of Andy episodes in Sidekick Barney, when Andy was mad at Barney for writing all these tickets, and Barney was saying, you give them 25, they're going to go 35. You give them 35, they're going to go 45. Drivers are a varied lot, and they're all going to do something different regardless of what the signage is. Hopefully, most people will be observant and honor it, but there's always variables. And trust me, I deal with this every day. There are people who are bound and determined to do what they want to do on highways, be it the main highway, be it a county road, a city road, whatever. And unfortunately, things happen sometimes because of that.
Squire Blackford, you had something? I don't want to be argumentative or pick out different things to argue about, but one of the things that we're trying to do is to be a data-driven, empirical government that doesn't look at anecdotes, doesn't look at one-offs, that looks at the data as it's presented. I think that we don't have a unanimous agreement on the data and the reports. But Squire Gill, you made the point that it's really hard to gauge someone's speed. But then in the next sentence you said, but it was clear that they were going too fast. Well, I 100% believe you, and I trust that you know that road as well as anybody. But the traffic data on that road did not show excessive speed. It didn't. That doesn't mean that the time that we did it or how we did it didn't accurately capture what people are doing on that road. But I do believe that we as a court have to come to a consensus on what we believe is the data. The data must be agreed upon. So this is our second study. We had multiple meetings with the Transportation Center and Adam Kirk. And I really appreciated and trusted his judgment. I believe that his data and the studies that he did, I trust that. I don't think he was wrong. Now, again, there are qualifiers in that. But the fact of the matter is, and he explained this in our last road committee meeting, people drive as fast as they believe the road will let them, not what the posted speed limit is. If we are going to impact behaviors and speeding on that road, if we change the speed limit, that is not enough. It will take notice. It will take law enforcement. It will take other measures, probably in striping and narrowing the road and doing things that give people a sense that you can't drive fast on Huntertown Road. So that's why it's an overall safety corridor discussion. But I want to return the court to an understanding that the data that we are getting, we believe it. Because I don't think that we all agree that that the data that we've received in the study that we've this series of reports we've received, we're not taking that under advisement as accurate. And I think that's not a good place to come from. I think we need to either we need to pay an engineer to do a different study, or I don't know, but none of us that I'm aware have got an engineering degree, have traffic. I know that Squire Taylor is a roads scholar. I know that Operations Supervisor Tracy Wright is. I know Bo Wilson can do anything you need to do to build a road. But our own expertise is not in this area, and I would appreciate and prefer that we relied on some expertise, because I do believe ultimately when we're talking about traffic safety and liability that we need to have empirical data evidence and an engineer's recommendation in order to do some of the things that we're doing. Squire Taylor.
Judge, thank you. Along those lines, I guess what I want to first say is, and if anybody's watching, there's not a person on this court or in this committee particularly, but I would extend it to the court that I would imagine is not interested in, everyone is interested in being for safety for both students as well as drivers. My only encouragement in this process is to make sure that what we do is most effective as possible. And including the fact that I really appreciated Squire Gill pointing out the idea of how wide that road gets at that point and how conducive that is for speeding. I know in Midway they had to, they did these bump outs at the crosswalks that really kind of tried to narrow those roads at the intersections to help not only give the sense of a more narrow road for drivers, but also, again, making that distance from A to B for a pedestrian to be safer. I don't know that necessarily is a solution here either, to your point of the need we have valuable studies, really valuable studies, but there's no recommendations there's recommendations what not to do, but there's no positive recommendations. And I hope we could maybe find a source to do that to help ensure, because I think there's a need that is felt and perceived and accurate from folks about this concern. I just want to make sure any actions we take are proactive for reducing that risk, and I hope we can maybe pursue some additional guidance on that is not just a study of what is occurring. We have some really good footing on that, but I'd like for us to move in a direction of what is advisable in that process. Because I don't want it to be a whack-a-mole of, we try this thing, it's not working, we try this thing, this isn't working, or it goes the opposite direction, which is an increasing concern for me of when you do present some of these traffic control measures, you can actually have an adverse impact when you have folks that have a perceived sense of security in crossing or even just driving down the road as well.
Thank you, Squire Taylor. Other comments, questions? Squire Barnes, you had something?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. Those feeder roads that comes into Huntertown, they're probably all 25 miles an hour coming out of the subdivisions. Is that probably correct, Tracy? Okay. So we do have some behavior there to 25. So when we get out to the road, and I think notifying those folks may give us more of an insight. They may want that. They may have not talked to their neighbor. Maybe they want a solution to that problem out there. But that road does require some looking at, because it is pretty fast. I've been on it a couple of times this week, and and I can gauge my speed. I know what I was doing. If somebody's trying to bump you, they're wanting to go faster. But the feeder roads, I think, will be a great help in that section having 25 mile an hour, because they're already at 25 coming out. So that's my comment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Squire.
You remember, Judge, earlier, this is the second time, this is the first time a parent has approached me about the safety going into the Huntertown school. But earlier, you remember we had a study also during the COVID time. Some residents over that area was concerned about the speed on Huntertown Road we did. And they did it during the COVID time, which I really think is a pretty good action time. Which I have in some other, we met over there and checked the speed, and then we talked about it earlier before this second concern came up. So the speed's been a problem there for a while.
And I believe that the concern during COVID time was that we had a new sidewalk and it was pedestrian crossings.
Like the speed of the cars and what.
Yes. So that it'd make it more dangerous. I will say that one of the constituents who contacted us about Huntertown Road and the stop signs at the school, their last email indicated that wasn't their preference to have stop signs. That's what they said. But again, I don't want to rely on I would like to rely on some engineering data that says this is going to make it safer. I do agree with Squire Gill that there isn't any harm in lowering the speed limit, but if we're going to lower the speed limit, we want people to abide, we don't want, we could lower it to 10. It's not gonna, people aren't gonna drive 10. We would want them to, especially in certain parts of that road, I'm sure, but we will have to have law enforcement support what we're doing and have regular traffic enforcement. And that's how you impact behaviors. That's been studied. That's the proof. Posting the speed limit does not make people drive slow. It just doesn't.
Judge, if I may, I think one of the things I found most effective, if you do this as a court, are those what I call the shame signs, like the one on Montgomery that let you know that you're going too fast and you better slow. If they could actually use some more language, slow down. The shame signs get your attention, and it starts flashing red for 27, and you're going, really? But it lets you know that you're exceeding the speed limit. And I'd say, again, we're never going to reach everyone, but you can reach a majority with things like that along the way. Because I really think if you're going to do that ultimately, at the inception, you need to do that just as a reminder to everyone, hey, it's changed and you need to slow down.
And Mr. County Attorney, that's a great point. We can talk to the police department about putting some of those out there, either the temporary or the solar powered ones. Is that a request that someone would like to make for the PD to put some of those out there in the meantime?
And Judge, I don't think they're formally called shame signs. I think they're the...
I think it's more the flashing light of shame. That's what he called it.
Speed control devices.
Is that something we'd like to recommend that is considered?
I don't think there's a harm in that. I'd be happy for us to have that. And then doesn't it record the speeds at the same time?
I don't know the answer to that.
Keeps logs.
Yeah.
Does
some
keep
kind of
logs?
It does. I had an issue over on
Keep turning
Woolridge.
your mic.
I'm sorry. I had an issue over on Woolridge, and I called the chief and had him put one of those over there and placed it for 10 days. And he gave me the whole report. There's not a speeding issue at all.
That's a temporary.
That's the mobile one.
But the fixed ones, yeah, but when you do temporary first to see.
That's what I agree with,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and that would give you your data. Yeah, just temporaries for now, but it does give you the data, which is kind of interesting because I had people call me reference speeding issues, and Mike said there are no speeding issues. So.
Squire Gill.
Thank you. I don't think we got any engineering data when we lowered the speed limits on those other roads. Did we? We didn't know. And I agree that, I mean, the data is great, and Adam Kirk himself said, this is based on national data, but you know the roads. The national data recommended 35 on Montgomery, and the city went with 25. Adam Kirk told us that the recommended speed limit on Huntertown Road would be 45 from Paddock all the way up to US 60 to Versailles Road, and the speed limit is 35. And he, he was the first to admit, well, there are variations in all roads, and if you've ever tried to back out of a driveway on Huntertown Road, anywhere on Huntertown Road, it's scary at 35. So, and I'll say it again, there's a 25-mile-an-hour sign in both directions on at Marseilles, and there are the flashing school signs in front of Huntertown. So there are 6, four for the schools and 2 for that area. So part of it's 25 right now. It's not that much of it. I mean, it's not even a mile we're talking about that it would lower it. So I think getting the input of, that being said, I think let's get the input of the public and see what they think. Let's ask them.
And how would you recommend we do that?
Well, you said to send a letter that we're recommending that and see
So
if.
just to clarify, the letter was sent out when we were going to do it. So it was we affirmatively voted to do it, then sent out the letter. So we weren't gauging interest, we were notifying. So we haven't affirmatively done anything yet. The other thing that we definitely did on Delaney Ferry was we had Jackie Brown involved. So I would prefer Squire Brown weigh in as a seasoned road member on anything that we choose to do. But if you'd like to send out preliminary input, we could start out with Facebook notifications and requests for input. We could do letters as well. We can, now this is something where we don't have to have any direction. We can do whatever we want on the public input side of it.
Judge, do cards cost less if you make up a little?
Postcards do, yes.
Yeah, so if you're going to do it and you want to keep your costs down, if you choose to do it, you probably ought to look at that, coming up with some template postcard, but because it'd be less expensive.
Squire Gill, would you like to make a recommendation to the?
Well, I think it would be good if Jackie Brown was here before we decide on anything out of the road committee. I think you're right.
Respectfully, I don't think 2 weeks gonna make a huge difference if you want Jackie's input. I mean,
Would it hurt for us to at least ask for that traffic, for the speed sign in the interim?
I think we should do that. And I think we should go ahead and put information on Facebook regarding it as well. So if there's no objection within the road committee to doing that, I'll take that on as a.
Because they're not expenditure, I'm sorry, yeah, right, that we're not
Yeah, that's right.
prior to his input.
So I'll proceed to ask the chief of police for a mobile speed device for Huntertown Road. I think it's important that we probably give him some direction on where we want that placed. Squire Blackford, Squire Gill.
For how long do you stay with the I see most of the state hidden from where the church is. That's what I see, pick up going across, going out to the stretch. Going out.
The Church of the Nazarene?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where I see most of the speed,
All right. And then we'll do a Facebook.
I don't know about the social media thing, because it seems like on social media, that's where everybody complains. And people don't, if they don't have an opinion on it, they won't say anything, or if they think it's fine, they won't say anything, but if they don't like it, you'll hear from them. So,
They want to be sincere in their approach to it.
They too like to share anecdotal evidence over data. I mean, as a way of notice, we can just put it out there that we're considering it and see.
Postcard be better, probably.
Okay. All right. Well, we will, if we want to wait till the next committee meeting to get Squire Brown's input on that, then we could look at issuing a postcard then, or we could take action now. It's up to the committee. Seeing no recommendation, we'll wait till our next meeting to do that. Anybody have anything additional on the Huntertown Road safety discussion? If not, then I'm going to allow our road supervisor and operations supervisor to be excused. Thank you all. Mr. Road Supervisor, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind to provide a brief update on the lake for the court? You can turn on that real quick. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's okay. You know, we took some. Well, yeah, there we go. We took some pictures. I sent them in to Tracy, but I don't guess it got printed to show you the guys. We were probably somewhere around 90% on the dam part on the height. I'm gonna set up a transit Thursday and shoot it and see where we're at. It's coming along good. It's looking good. Speedy's getting a lot of experience driving a dump truck in the field, but he's enjoying it. But I'm using some of my young guys on equipment right now. I'm changing the subject a little bit, but giving them a little time to learn how to operate. But there's nothing there. There's nothing around. You can't mess up dirt. If you dig it too deep, we'll put it back. You know what I mean? Yeah. It ain't like sawing the board too short, but it's coming along good. It is. I'm really pleased with it. I'm getting a lot of feedback. A lot of people's really excited about this becoming operational for get his stock and start fishing. They can't wait, and I'm one of them.
Well, thank you, Mr. Road Supervisor. I just want to give that brief update. But you all are excused to go. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to move on to the road name change from Elm Street and McCracken Pike. Glad we have the county attorney back to discuss this particular issue, because we've identified several things, Mr. County Attorney, and if you can help explain this to the court as well, several things that need to happen. Number one, the request has come to the court informally. I think that the request needs to come formally in writing from whoever is making that road name request. The second and an important point would be that we need to have the state, because it is a state road, give us some sort of affirmative support that we change this name, because it is a state road. I'd also recommend that the city of Versailles also issue some sort of opinion on it. It's in the city of Versailles. And then again, getting back to our notification, we need to notify other neighbors that this is being requested. And if those things occur, then I think it would be proper for the court to take that up. But Mr. County Attorney, I'll open the floor to you to further that discussion.
Yes, Judge and I, before this committee meeting, we have our pre-meeting, and we talked about this. I understand the request. I agree with the judge in terms of how it should be presented to the court, though a formal request, you have a record of it. What people tend to forget, though, and I honestly, as long as I've been here, I don't know how it came to be. The road we're talking about is Kentucky Highway 1659, aka McCracken Pike, okay? That is a state highway given a county name, but it is not a county road. It is a state highway. The state gives it a number, assigns a number, but allows the counties to refer to it by whatever name they choose to. And however long ago it was referred to as McCracken Pike. And this specific address currently is 75 McCracken Pike. But it is the state road, so that's why the judge alluded to some state involvement. It connects to what is typically considered and referred to as city street, and this is in the city, Elm Street. So that's why you would want their involvement as well. It would seem to make sense. You go from 216 to 218 to 220 Elm Street. The next house and the last house for a stretch is 75 McCracken Pike. So you even have the odd mix. Normally you have even on one side and odd on the other. This goes even, then an odd number, and then the evens are across the way on McCracken. So there might need to be some cleanup there, but it's not as simple as just saying, yeah, that makes sense, let's do that. I do think you need to get the county, or the state involved and the city involved, and then possibly make this change. We'll have to clarify in terms of distance section, in terms of how that shortens McCracken, extends Elm Street. We'll have to get all that in the record. But I think until you have all that, it's not right for action, for formal action by the court.
So I'll have GIS Director Kenneth Johns communicate that to folks, and well, if anybody doesn't have any objection, we'll proceed with that as being our informal process that brings some structure to how these things would be done, both here and in the future. Any questions regarding the road name change? Seeing none. Anybody have anything else to come before the road committee? Also seeing none, we will be adjourned until we reconvene in a regular meeting. Thank you.